If you go on Google Earth and start looking around for a bit, you will sooner or later come across these dotted lines, which indicate that there's an ongoing border dispute. And if you come across one of these outside of Europe, I can guarantee you that the British are somehow involved in it. Just like in the very border dispute that we're looking at today, in which Guatemala somehow claims half the land of Belize. The story begins in the 17th century, when most of Central America was colonized by Spain. During this time, the British began settling in what is now known as Belize. Although the territory was officially owned by Spain, the settlers gradually gained more and more independence. In 1821, Guatemala became an independent country, only to be incorporated into the Federal Republic of Central America 2 years later, which in turn dissolved in 1841, leaving Guatemala independent once again. But the status of Belize continued to be unclear. In 1859, a treaty was signed between Guatemala and the United Kingdom that recognized Belize as a British territory. In return, the British agreed to build a mutually beneficial road from Guatemala to Belize City. However, Britain kind of forgot about it, so the road was never built. Nevertheless, Belize was formally declared a crown colony under the name British Honduras. In 1931, Guatemala and the United Kingdom reaffirmed the borders from the 1859 treaty to finish the demarcation process of the border, despite the road from earlier not being built. After this, the governments negotiated multiple times, but the talks were not successful. The Belizean government then decided to try to gain international support, for example at the United Nations, a strategy that proved to be quite successful. Then in 1981, Belize became an independent country and was admitted into the UN, with Guatemala as the only vote against it. Then in 2008, Belize and Guatemala signed an agreement to hold referendums on sending the issue to the International Court of Justice. The referendum was held in Guatemala in 2018, with about 95% of votes in support, while the referendum in Belize took place in 2019, with about 55% of votes in favor. Now the dispute will be settled in court, which could take multiple years.